Three, two, one. Hey, welcome back to Ash on Comics. I'm Ash, and here's today's comic. Daredevil, number 20, or Legacy number 632. Right here, this is what you care about. Zdarsky, Chichetto. Know these names. Now, this I've been constantly promoting, not this book, this series, as the best comic at Marvel. And when last we left off, it was back in March. Comics were getting canceled because of COVID. And issue 19 was the last book that I read. Now, issue 19 was Inferno, part 1 of 2. And I don't know if you watched that video that I did, but it was basically the finale of a big, long-running, slow-burning build-up that Zdarsky has been crafting in Daredevil. And I really liked how things sort of just exploded. It's that tension has been building up, and you've been feeling like we were going to get to this point eventually as you've been reading, and it's been really pleasurable getting here. It hasn't been one of these like, oh, get to the point. It's not like that at all. It's more of that, oh shit, shit's gonna come down. Okay, okay, where are we going? And Inferno was like, boom! And then COVID, and then no comics, and then months go by, and you're like, what the heck? So it's great to finally get to this book. If you haven't seen my other video and you're interested in this, I urge you watch the one for issue 19 first before you do this. But here we go. Hello? I'm sorry. I didn't know who else to call. My name's Bernadette Friedman. Hell's Kitchen it's on fire. A war zone. There's explosions, gunfire, and nobody's coming. Nobody's helping. I tried to call 911, but there's no answer. On the TV, no one's talking about it. I don't know what's happening. It's like a blackout. We're alone. I know you're not the fire department or the police officers, but I don't know where else to turn. I'm too scared to go outside. Somebody shot through my window. Oh, please, pick up, please. I'm begging you. I was just checking the tips line, and there it was. Where does fucking voicemail been? There's nothing on social media about Hell's Kitchen, so I figured it was just a crank call. And I went to delete it, but it's her voice. She's actually scared, Doug. It could be mental illness, but she sounds like a senior citizen. And her last resort is the Daily Bugle. So what, dementia? No. If something is happening and nobody wants news of it to be spread, you knock out the cell phones. But a lot of seniors still use landlines. But surely something would still get out of social media if it was big. Yeah, well, if someone has the power to stop emergency services and block cell reception, shit, you're right. I'll head down and check it out. I doubt it's anything, but you never know with the kitchen. My name is Matt Murdock. When I was a kid, God gave me a gift. He took my sight, but he gave me the world. Every sound, every smell, every texture. He made me feel everything. I dressed as the devil and used these gifts to be a blunt instrument. And people got hurt. People died. And it felt like God abandoned me. But he's always there. He always knew that I just needed to be better. That, yes, violence is a last resort. But when there's no other option, when good people are being attacked and beaten, sometimes all you can do is lift your fists and fight. Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, Mark Cicchetto. I thought this was a beautiful introduction, and given how long ago this was written, eerily prophetic and like poignant to the current time with stuff we're seeing, the rioting and the craziness that's going on in this country. Now, I know this is what's happening in this book has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter or any of that, right? But it's still, violence and stuff tends to have, its roots in everything, in all different types of, reasons for violence, all the different causes, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's just these criminal gangs or whatever, the violence all just kind of has a similar reasons. You can kind of see the commonality here. And one of those things is people are scared and innocents are affected. And if I go back and I see this beginning with this black page and this phone call, it reached out to me a lot about what people are going through right now. Imagine in places like Minnesota where lawlessness, and in Seattle, they've taken over 6 city blocks, and the news is, everything's fine here. Oh, don't pay attention. Meanwhile, people are getting raped and killed and beat up. And if you don't think that's true, if you're like, no, Ash, you're crazy. Well, I post videos of it on my Twitter. People are definitely getting beat up. It's sad. It's really sad. And this video is not here to be a big commentary on Black Lives Matter, but it's one of these things about art is it speaks to us, and it speaks to us in different ways, and it speaks to each of us differently based on our own life experiences. But I think one thing that's happening right now is that we are all having a similar life experience, and that we're all going through what's going on in this country together. So let's get on with the book. This panel, I can't help. As much as I like Mark Cicchetto, I really do. He's definitely great for this book. Dad bod Daredevil has got to go. And Matt Murdock needs to quit skipping leg day. What the hell is up with these chicken legs? Look, one of the rules about drawing comics is certain physical features are exaggerated. Feet, hands, musculature in your limbs, like your arms and your legs. Like if you draw a human has like a normal, realistic person looks, it doesn't look right for comics. Comics have this exaggerated nature on purpose. But you either like it or you don't. I'm not a fan. The comic itself is good enough that I overlook it, but if I'm sitting here critiquing it, that's what I got to say. I love, though, the way Cicchetto visualizes the drama. Because his art has such a realistic style, he draws things almost not from a comic artist mentality, almost from like a cinematographer. And sometimes I would criticize artists for that. I'd be like, no, you're drawing comics. But Cicchetto does it so well that I have to say, go for it. You're making it work for me. When I read this book, I feel like I'm watching a movie. And I love these angles. I love Daredevil right here turning and looking up and seeing Stiltman. And we get to see a new side of Daredevil, you know, who he's facing like Crossbones, and it's like, huh, I was told you were dead. And Daredevil's thinking to himself, you know, this is the Stromwinds, it has to be. It's their nuclear option so they could scoop up a section of New York City, while also sending me a message. If only I hadn't. Ping, 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 ping. He's getting shot. No, damn it, Matt. This isn't the time for Catholic guilt. Save lives. Save. And he turns his head. And he sees Stiltman walking around. Stiltman bombing buildings. Crossbones and Bullseye are dangerous, but... And then Daredevil runs away. And they call him a coward. But this is the all-new Daredevil who's thinking more like a superhero. It's like not about beating up the dangerous guys, but going after and saving the people that need help. I'm not really sure where I stand with that yet. I'm not really sure Daredevil needed this kind of overhaul, like he was a broken character. But Chip has been writing such a well-crafted, dramatic story that I'm just along for the ride, and I'm going to wait and see how it goes before I really render, you know, my final opinion on that. I'm going to let him try to sell me on it. Keep my mind open. Meanwhile, we got Rhino here. He's getting all pissed off because he wants to cause some destruction, but Stiltman, he's throwing some bombs, and that's what the plan was. But Rhino's pissed off because he wants the glory. And then Rhino opens up, and if you remember the last issue, we saw the big reveal: Typhoid Mary's back, and Rhino, after Stiltman gets blown up, he's like, "Looks like my job after all. Minute's up. You were warned." And it's like, big man, sent to do a big job, sent to fail. Oh God, Mary. Typhoid Mary, she woke up. I just wanted to make sure she was okay. Did I cause? and then Mary just jumps into the fray, and it's like, oh, damn. But she's kind of the bad guy, but also kind of the good guy because of the mind control that's been put on her, the brainwashing. So she still kind of believes she's part with the church, but she's still... It's kind of interesting. I'm not really sure where her story is going to go, but it's interesting, and I like that. I like when things are interesting. Of course, Matt Murdock having a new, flirtatious encounter with Mary. He's like, my hero, miss me? And then Matt uses her to lure Rhino off while he fights Stiltman, and we get a cool fight here. Matt uses his grenades to blow up his stilts. It's really, really well rendered. I love this. Stiltman has always been an obscenely absurd character to me. It's like, dude, it's a dude on stilts. But the way Checchetto renders him here, and the way that he composes these scenes, Stiltman feels menacing. Look at how he's standing over the city and all these shots of like looking up at Stiltman. That's really good because anyone witnessing him would be from this angle, and it's more imposing. Just the visual composition, Checchetto has just nailed it. And the colorist, I should have credited the colorist, but the dramatic colors in this, just it feels like a city on fire. The violence, you got these three villainous mercenaries of like Bullseye and Crossbones, and we already said Stiltman and Rhino. I forget exactly everyone's here. Then Owlsy shows up. And it's just everything that this story has been building to. It's coming to a head. And then the people get involved. And this is, it's kind of a cliche thing at this point, especially in Marvel Comics, which loves to center around New York. The big cliche of the New Yorkers getting involved too, But Zdarsky pulled it off well, and he built up to this already when Matt Murdock stopped being Daredevil, and then the people didn't have a Daredevil, so they kind of used his visage to take things into their own hands, to be Daredevil themselves. And it was like if Daredevil wasn't going to protect Hell's Kitchen, then I guess they had to. And that was one of the things that kind of woke Matt Murdock up, and I liked that. In comparison, when I think about this story, and in just character comparison in general, I really liken Daredevil to DC's Nightwing, or really vice versa. Daredevil came first, but Nightwing feels like they're both a very similar character. And recently in DC Comics, you may know that Nightwing got shot in the head, he lost his memory, and then he decided he didn't want to be Nightwing anymore because he only lost like 15 years of his memory. So he lost the memories of that time. He still knew kind of who he was, and then of course he knew that he was Nightwing through people telling him and seeing, whatever footage and things of him, and people educate, hey, you were Nightwing. And he's like, look, I don't want to be that. And he wanted to, he's like, I'm going to go be something else. And then, of course, he still kept running around fighting. Same thing that happened here with Daredevil, right? He's like, I'm going to quit being Daredevil, but yeah, I'm going to roam around the streets every night and essentially be Daredevil. You're like, but Zdarsky does it so much better. It's so much more believable because it's not like that Daredevil doesn't want to be Daredevil. It's Daredevil thinking he shouldn't be Daredevil, and he's trying to walk away. It's like a person who's got a bad habit, right? Maybe you're an alcoholic, and you're like, I don't want to stop drinking, but I really should, so I'm going to try to stop. It's the same thing. Daredevil's like, look, I got to stop this. I'm just going to hurt people. It's not right for me to do this. Whereas Nightwing was like, I don't want to, and he was this indignant. It's like, I'm not going to do this thing. I'm just going to go off and be irresponsible. But then he kept doing it, and it just didn't make sense. It didn't fit, whatever was internally going on with him. Plus, it just was kind of a boring, silly story. Zdarsky here writes an epic drama. And then just when you think everything's piled up and you're like, Jesus, Owlsey's here now, Kingpin shows up and he's like, off. What does he say? He's like, get your hands off my citizens, and boom, just clocks Crossbones. Then Owlsey is just like, oh shit. It's like, Fisk, I'm the Kingpin now. How dare? Then his boy's like, boss, we've been talking. we're done with you. So Daredevil and Kingpin now back to back defending Hell's Kitchen. And Daredevil's kind of like doing the whole uneasy truce thing. It's like, hey, enemy of my enemy. But then Fisk is like, I'm not helping you. This is my city, and anyone who thinks otherwise needs to learn respect. And then Typhoid Mary comes back in the fray. More freaking explosions. This is just how you do climactic finale. That's the term I'm looking for. And then Foggy shows up and he's trying to talk Matt down, but Matt's like, I can't stop. And he's like, I figured. So he's like, here's your batons, I brought them. And, of course, now Daredevil's like really into the scene. But Bullseye, one of his greatest villains, is, still facing off. Now, the only criticism I have about this book is I wish Bullseye would have been better. Remember, Bullseye is the guy who killed Elektra. Bullseye is the real deal. In Zdarsky's version of Bullseye, the dude's kind of a clown. And look, suspension of disbelief, and I trust, I just put myself in the writer's hands. It's like, look, I know I'm going to see what your vision's like and let you sell me on it. But I really prefer the badass Bullseye that you need to be afraid of. And here, Daredevil just goes to town, man. He's just, it's the end of the Matrix when Neo becomes the one. Daredevil has become the one here. And Bullseye is just like, come on, you shit. And he's just taking out everybody. And you get to see I've talked about this before. This is a great example. A fight is a story. Comics involve action a lot of times, but a lot of times what we're seeing in modern comics is just like a big splash page of like random action poses. which all it does is imply that there's action going, but the writer and the artist don't actually know how to tell us a story of the action. And for fans of action stories, that's something that we want to see. Daredevil here, we get to see, it's the standoff. Remember who you are. Remember your training. You're Matt Murdock. You're Daredevil. Out of the infinite possibilities, there's only one way this is going to go. And then you get to see the world that he sees. And then my way. And there's no narration of how this fight's going, but the visuals tell it just exquisitely. We get to see little scenes like he notices the knife, right? And he's, I forget what this villain's name is, but anyways, his head. Murdock throws his baton, disarms Crossbone. The baton ricochets. He pivots, kicks this dude who he's noticing in the head, kicks him in the head. Meanwhile, grabbing the knife, Bullseye's like, ha ha, bang, bang. Come on, you piece of shit, or whatever he's saying. Matt breaks the knife on the car door. What's going on? Breathe. Deflects a bullet with his baton. There's an order to everything. Nothing is random if you just listen. Rhino. If you feel the air, clicks his staff together. Pulls out his little cord. Rhino's charging. If you know yourself, you know your enemy. You know the outcome. Leaps over his head. Wraps around his throat. Pulls him backwards. Boom! Slams him back. Takes the handle of the knife that he broke. Shoves it down Rhino's throat. Meanwhile, Bullseye's like, bang, bang. Rhino is choking. Matt's deflecting bullets like a boss. Bullets are ricocheting into Crossbones. Predicting movements, predicting actions is especially easy. You little shit. Bang, 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 bang. With someone who never misses. And this is where I talk about the Neo, the Matrix. He's just back. Just look at him. And then Bullseye is like, what the fuck? Just like, I've never seen this version of Daredevil. Blessed be the Lord. It's been 2 minutes. Bullseye is running off now. Heartbeat slowed, unconscious, brain damage in 1 minute, or unless he comes out, pries the thing out. My rock, who trains my hands for war. Rhino gasps, coming back to life here. And that was a story. It's not a super deep story or whatever. It's just the basics, but there's drama to it. There's a beginning and a middle and an end, and you follow it, and it means something. And it's enjoyable to watch, and you care about what's happening. This is so good. And he's talking to, reciting, what he's saying, my rock and my hands for war, and then Mary fills in the end, and my fingers for battle. Is that all? Is that the last of the bastards trashing my... You shit, this is my town now. Bang! And then there's Cole, one of the greatest new additions to the Daredevil mythology, this new character, Cole. I love Cole North. It's over, Owlsley. You knew Mary in the church. I swear to God, if you made her happy, you know nothing about adult decisions, and you never will. Detective North, arrest this man. Now, the original Detective North at the beginning of Daredevil, who came into this under Mayor Fisk, would have, and he did. No, I won't. It's okay, Cole. Then we get the news media finally showing up, and they're questioning and stuff. And it's like, are you Daredevil? I am Daredevil. I've spent years defending Hell's Kitchen, but I've also been accused of killing Leo Carrero, this man's brother. And because of that... Whoops. I am turning myself in to the authorities. And that's how it ends. The black, white text on black background. It's just poetic in how it's telling the beginning to the end. Fantastic. It's a double issue finale of just hell breaking loose in Hell's Kitchen. I love this book. It's not even the best book of this run of 20 issues of Daredevil so far. If you're curious, my favorite issues are the Spider-Man ones, where Spider-Man appears, I think, in issue 5. I want to say, or maybe it's issue 4. And then he comes back again in the early teens. I don't remember. It might have been 14. I don't remember the issue. But they're the 2 times that Spider-Man makes a big appearance in the book. And they're super meaningful appearances. First time is for Daredevil. The second time is for Cole North. And it's great. Anyways, those are my favorite issues. I've liked most all the issues, really. It's the only thing I could ever say negative about this whole run is some of the guest art. Some of the guest art was okay. Some of the guest art was ugh. But the writing was always top notch. And this is 20 issues of greatness so far. This is the next issue. We can see Daredevil back in the red costume for the first time after he's turned himself in. I don't know what's going on. I highly recommend this book. I hope that I was able to break down this book a little bit for you to help you understand why I think it's so good. Obviously, you need to read the whole thing for yourself. I think you also need to read the whole Daredevil series. It's not going to be you're not going to be as amazed just by me presenting it to you in this format. But hopefully I made a good case to explain. And also for you to understand, maybe if you don't agree with me, at least understand why I see it this way. So leave your comments down below what you thought. Hopefully if you're reading any Marvel comics, hopefully you're reading Daredevil. This has got to be on the top of your list for Marvel. Even if you're not a Daredevil fan, I think it's just super well written. And maybe this will turn you into a fan. That's the greatest thing I can say about this series is this is the kind of series that will make possibly people who don't like Daredevil liking Daredevil. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, tell me what I'm doing wrong down in the comments so I can do better. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.